say go to Taco Bell, man, let's go. And it was a long line, but man, it was worth the wait. It was so long, I had to go inside and go to a bathroom break while we waited for the food. We had to pull over. We ordered so much food, they couldn't get it all ready. We ordered everything, and whatever they had put inside of a tortilla, the crunchy stuff, man, it's really, I have no idea what it was, but we smashed that. And
get some mail! What the Rock is cooking!
Recording live from 3, count on 3 locations.
This is Past the Rock.
I am Patrick, and as always, I'm joined by 2 great men, so we'll bring them on in. Start with Caesar, aka LCs.
They let me out, fellas. I'm free from Guantanamo Bay. We racked up a hell of a bill on the phone. I'm on parole, though, so it's not total freedom. I'm sorry.
Well, hey, we got you back in your natural habitat, and that's where we need you. Let's also welcome in Jacob, aka Bethke.
Whoa.
You paid my bill, by the way.
Yeah. It was a very expensive bill. Let's just say that. We will be sending this into our tax department. I will be talking to corporate about getting reimbursement.
Yeah. There's a very funny episode of the Detroiters where they have to get health insurance for one of their workers because they haven't been paying the premiums. And good one.
Classic America.
I don't love everything Tim Robinson does because he yells a lot, but when it hits, I think it really hits.
I need to just persevere through more of it is the way I've realized, because I come to the same issue with him most of the time. Is I'm like, I don't know if it's all for me.
There are spots where it's really good, yeah.
Because I think we all have different funny bones, you know. I'm more of that Nathan Fielder. I kind of want to see somebody that's a little too smart, have a little too much fun, and I want there to be ethical decisions and lines crossed, usually.
Hell yeah.
Well, maybe speaking of some of that, we'll just bounce right into news and stuff. Yeah, so
boosting the sales of that song.
I hope so. I listen to it probably more than most people do. If I'm being honest, got to be in the top 1% on that one. But anyways, yeah. So we're gonna eschew our normal going through top whatever happened in sports over the week, just so we can talk about. We had a pretty crazy weekend in music. Obviously, the most notable, the Kendrick Lamar GNX drop, surprise album. That I didn't get this confirmed, but someone told me that the record label didn't even really know about it till he kind of just like, oh, here you go.
I mean, this is kind of the MO after a few albums now.
That's fair, yeah. And I've heard, I know that the guy from Modest Mouse talked about not their last album, but the one before. He pretty much had to finally put it out just because he went broke making it before, because then they reimburse him after, I guess, is how they're set up.
Yeah, exactly.
So that they have more control over it, all that. But anyways, so there was that. There was, I think the Andre 3000 thing was also like it's previously been released, but not in this format or something. More flute stuff, which I'm
so he's getting his old ones put on SoundCloud and Spotify.
Well, see, I'm not entirely sure because it's like I'm pretty sure it's like something that they played like live. It was like a live thing, and then maybe
it is jazz. So this is a little. I mean, streaming jazz is not new. But it is a little interesting to watch a major artist become a jazz streaming artist.
It's cool. It's interesting. I hopefully it, at least interests some people. And I wonder how much that's inspired by Lizzo or whatever.
Yeah, I think
wasn't that her who plays flute like pretty well?
I mean, she's done it on like a song or two.
Like, can't she like actually play it? Like she's like brought it out in concert and played it.
Yeah. But she's not like fucking Jethro Tull.
Okay, I didn't know. I didn't know how good she might actually be.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think it's just kind of a thing she does.
Okay,
it's just kind of like part of the show, but not the show.
Yeah, and then we've gotten 2 J. Cole mixtapes on streaming in the last 72 hours. 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, he dropped a newer one, right?
So we got
Like, did he drop that the same day? Because
No, the
No.
Friday Night Lights drops this weekend
that.
with
That was
Kendrick
that just
Lamar
happened.
Deluxe. Oh, they dropped it today.
Oh, maybe it was just I thought it did drop. I didn't actually.
No, I think they do it. I think it's going to be a part of the Friday drop.
Oh, okay.
yeah, because I felt like if it
Or
did
Thursday
get
night,
dropped the
but-
same time, because I don't know if the day that Kendrick dropped, somebody mentioned J. Cole, and I was like, snooze fest.
It's a big day for me as a
It's
J.
nice to be able to
Cole-
listen to it at the
Uh,
right
Jason-
quality in the right spot. Like
I've just
I'm
been
on it.
bored with J. Cole
Honestly,
for like the
y'all,
last couple albums, man.
I don't know
what to tell you.
I don't know what this one is, but I ain't never seen it in my life, so I'm a little behind on my J. Cole.
Which one?
Might delete later.
Oh, yeah, not a great album. If I'm being
You're
honest.
good.
Went out so J. Cole, but I will say, like I said, oh shit, the Come Up mixtape is on. Whoa.
Yeah, that was big. There's some good stuff on there.
Oh, okay. See, this is good because a lot of people, I feel like, I respect why people don't like J. Cole that much. It's fine. I'm not trying to say anything, but like the reason why some people love J. Cole is because those tapes and then the first two albums, it was really special run there. Everything else, I think, is more of just your taste based kind of thing.
Yeah, and I like I want him to be. I hear it, and I hear there's moments in him that I really, really enjoy, but it's not stretched out across the full discography.
He's also introduced us to a lot of awesome artists, which I think
Yeah,
does
I mean,
matter in
his-
the hip hop game. I feel like
Thanks to
that's a part of your
Dreamville,
legacy.
I know what Jid is, and right now he's probably my favorite guy running. So
Boss, I love Boss. I think Boss
cool.
is super
I like the-
underrated.
I like the Earth Gang.
Earth Gang, fucking awesome.
I love when Earth Gang
Ari
just come
Lennox.
out.
I think Ari Lennox
Crazy.
was a part of his whole
Yeah,
label.
and
too.
I
Ari
don't
Lennox, yeah, it's part of
Yeah, I don't know if
Dreamville, yeah.
Smino is on there or not, but I like
I don't think
Smino
so.
too. He shows up on some of the Dreamville mixtapes, so I just don't know who's officially a member or not. But
Yeah.
anyways,
By the way,
so
I'm gonna throw this
yeah.
out there for anybody who likes Earth Gang or hasn't heard of Earth Gang, but they would like to check them out. All right. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of a rapper named Rico Nasty. With female rapper, right? Really good, crazy
One of the
stuff. There
OGs
she
at
goes.
this point.
But she has a song with Earth Gang, and it's called Big Titties. Don't let the title fool you. Those dudes go crazy on that track. So, also produced by Kenny Beats. So that, if you're familiar with him and his game, you're gonna love this track. It's a great introduction to Earth Gang. That's how I got introduced to Earth Gang.
I think, yeah, that Proud of You with Young Thug song, that was the first time I was just like, oh, hello, who? And
Yeah,
then
I
the
first
whole
heard him
album
on
was very
some
special.
Dreamville stuff. And so that made, like, especially their most recent album, which is kind of the first one I listened to that was their own album. I was really surprised by the style of that. They're all over the place. They're great. But yeah, so I think obviously the thing that we would probably talk about the most was going to be
Just J. Cole, naturally.
Yeah. I sat with the 17-minute flute experience 5 times, so I can break
Good.
down the chord transitions for you. I didn't touch it. But
You
obviously,
said the whole thing. Just the
I
new
haven't-
song.
I haven't listened to any of that.
Good. I was gonna say,
I
Not
did
because
see
I'm
that.
against it, but it's just like I don't know when I'm.
if
I
we
don't
were
know
gonna
what
talk
time
about,
of day I'm gonna put that on.
Yeah.
if we were going to talk about the flute album for more than 30 seconds, I was gonna stop my camera and walk away.
Well, you're the one who has all the flute experience here. I mean, you're the son of a flute aficionado.
Oh,
Okay.
listen, I'm more of
Well,
like
okay,
a survivor.
yeah. Maybe I said
Oh.
that in the wrong room, but you know what I meant.
I forgot the thing he sent us.
All right, so the context for
No,
what
you
is
brought
being
it up,
said
right?
here is when I was younger and whenever we had to go on long trips to Oklahoma, whether it's to pick my mother up from Choctaw or Windstar, and it's just me and my dad, we get in this truck, and for whatever reason, he's just like, we're going to Oklahoma. A lot of Native Americans there. So he would whip out his CD booklet. And if you don't remember the big case, you just have all these different slots for CDs. And he'd whip out this Native American flute CD. And it's just a CD with a bunch of tracks with, I'm assuming, Native American artists who are just playing the fucking flute for an hour and a half.
Wasn't
Or
like
Did
Peruvian
you-
Peruvian pan flute. covers of Stairway and Hotel
I don't know.
California?
No,
Yeah.
no, there was no pop covers.
Did
They
he
weren't even title
smell
tracks.
like he had just burned anything prior
no.
to the drive?
How many skunks did it smell like
No.
you passed on the way to and from?
0. This man was stone cold sober enjoying this.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah. So I mean, I did listen to the Flute album a little bit. My ultimate review is also, I'm sure this is not that bad, but I also don't do hard drugs like that, so I don't really know.
Honestly,
I'm just gonna sit with this,
I also think a lot of the people who would appreciate that more don't do hard drugs either.
Yeah, exactly. You're two extremes, though, right? You either are doing hard drugs or you actually know music theory and understand it.
Yeah, I mean, some people just, they will just enjoy it, and at some point, eventually down the road, I'll probably be at work by myself, and I'll have 30 minutes to just throw that on, and while I'm, working on something where I don't need to think too hard.
I respect it. My girlfriend works the classical music every day. I get it.
Haven't done it yet, not with that specifically. But I did run the Kendrick album twice that day when it came out. I liked it. I'll go on that limb. I did enjoy it.
There was some solid work there.
I need to give it. Obviously, it needs just time. It hasn't even been a week yet, so it needs time to be able to tell
you gotta have
what you actually think.
Album of all time or what?
It's currently not in my top 3 of his, but I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in it because it's there's a lot of creative choices that I think are fun. I'm very excited and hopeful for a deluxe album. That's definitely been teased quite a bit. If you watch the newest video,
snippets and stuff, yeah.
It's also in the words to fucking squabble. So that was actually, I mean, shout out to the genius people. I'm pretty sure, double check me on that for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's squabble up. He says something about double up like a deluxe.
Get his turf and get cracking. Double back like a deluxe.
Yeah, double back like a deluxe. That could not mean it. I mean, we've all obviously misinterpreted lyrics plenty before, but feels like it.
The music video has more than enough hints, though.
There's a lot of hints, but it's kind of.
He also likes
to could be either one.
He also likes to just give you 8 seconons of something you'll never actually hear. So
yeah,
very Kanye of him.
Which is if it's a deluxe
it's an artistic choice. Frank did. I don't know if maybe Frank might not have pioneered that, but I feel like he mastered it pretty well. Just like all this stuff, and then he's got like 2 full albums.
No, you come on, you can't say this. Sitting right here, Barry Keoghan just got signed on to be Ringo's star. The band that really started this bullshit. Not the band, really, the one man and his wife. John Lennon got people to buy stupid records, and let's just be honest.
Oh, I'm just talking about like doing a thing where you just like you tease like 8 seconds of something no one over here.
Yeah.
For artistic purposes.
Yeah, I guess it's harder to do back in that era. So yeah, you really only have your more modern era.
You'd have to do a new music video.
Man at the Garden is going viral for people using it for basketball clips on TikTok.
I assumed that was going to be.
I haven't seen those edits yet, but
that's really interesting. TV Off, Squabble Up, Peekaboo, and and obviously Not Like Us. They basically all seem like they're kind of along the same lines of the same sort of dance theme. That's kind of the way you get the album longevity, even if maybe it's not for the hip hop heads. You're gonna have plenty of plays here.
Although I feel like a lot of those songs were perfectly tailor-made for both parties, hip hop heads and just like the general dance crowd.
To some extent, yeah. I mean, obviously, I think more like Reincarnated, The Heart 6, obviously, which was more poppy than any of the other Hearts, it seemed. And GNX are more of the songs that are like for the rappers, and then obviously SZA's on there twice, and those songs are marketed for the pop charts too. So there's a lot of potential for this album to do well commercially, even if maybe artistically it's not your favorite Kendrick concept.
Which makes sense with him wanting to be like, I'll show you I can do it this way. I'll show you I can do it that way.
It follows the fuck Drake thing. It also does it in very subtle ways to me. Like my favorite concept, and I don't think this was necessarily a Tupac homage. I think I just think of Tupac the most with this. There's probably plenty of other artists like Too Short people who have actually really done a long career of having more of their relatively unknown. I mean, fuck, Wu-Tang was more or less on this train at times. You just have a lot of people that, you know, are SZA's the only person that anybody knows going into the album. Now, I will say, admittedly, and people can roast me, it's fine. The LA sound is pretty clear on this. So I'm not gonna lie, some of these people sounded like other notable LA people, and I might have guessed wrong before we knew the credits. And I'm still standing by at least the fact that one of them sounded like Roddy Ricch, and the other one sounded like Problem.
Roddy Ricch is listed on a feature.
Okay, Roddy Ricch was on there. It's just a short bit of one of the songs.
Yeah,
right?
he's on Dodger Blue.
Oh, Dodger Blue's the only one that. Oh, okay, he is. Okay, he is on there. Okay, so Roddy Ricch would be the only other big one. I think Peso had actually gotten a little bit. I had heard of Wally the Sensei before. The other ones I had to kind of dive into. And honestly, there
trying to figure out how to
shit.
pronounce. Is that Siete 7? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
7, yeah.
As I said it out loud, it made a lot more sense. There's one guy, I think it's on GNX, who I could have sworn was Juvenile, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But he sounds just like Juvenile, and he's doing like a similar flow.
Bunch of independent artists, so that was really cool. And I thought that was a nice homage, because really what I was thinking is it's Kendrick's city, it's Kendrick's sound. He can do whatever he wants theoretically, but if he was to do the sound this album, you know, is really going for as a whole, without these other artists, you could honestly maybe even spin it in a world where he's being a little Drake-ish, right? Because again, this is of his culture. I'm not saying that it's one and the same, but I'm saying this would be from this perspective of bigger artist capitalizing on the sound of the, like, not to be, you know, stupid, but like literally the streets, like literally the underground scenes of places like LA, which are massive music scenes. So there's no small feat. But these artists have a certain sound. These themes that DJ Mustard is using in those 4 songs, including Not Like Us, are really all tied into that same LA sound. So I think for him to do that with the underground artists kind of is that not only can I, you know, take a step back from the bluesy jazz of To Pimp a Butterfly, that's like world politics, and then the domestic stuff that comes into that last album, and then now I can jump back into the pop, and I can sound like what the kids sound like, even though now myself am no longer a kid. Much, you know, I've already made very adult albums at this point, you know, so it's like I can do this, but I'm going to do it with street cred. I'm going to actually be out here learning and finding people at Dodger games. You know what I mean? So I think there was a lot of elements to the griminess of this record that the real hip hop heads have to respect, even though, again, I feel like Patrick's probably on the nose. There's going to be a lot of people that probably won't rank this that high. It does
not
feel
in the major people
world
who rank albums.
Yeah.
Because most of the time that's not your, it's your think piece writers that are doing that nonsense. So
Look,
they're not going to put this up there.
We watch Jay-Z and Kanye West have amazing careers, and there are still people that will die on the hills that their first albums are way better than anything else they ever made. You know, and so that just happens with artists. Kid Cudi obviously is a little bit different, but it's the same vibe, right?
Yeah.
It's just,
I remember one of the tracks might be. Keep talking. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, honestly, I like the album. I need to sit with it more to figure out. Dodger Blue is definitely in my vibe. I would say early on. Reincarnated's awesome because he, you know, obviously evoked Tupac, and then he just put it on. He just basically, he was like, you know what, just give me the Tupac type beat.
Yeah.
And Patrick, it went to that movie we had just not mentioned not that long ago. It was the theme that was on that Jim Belushi Tupac movie.
Oh yeah,
that was the theme he used.
Okay, so in Whacked Out Murals, he said, "This is not for lyricists. I swear it's not the sentiments. Fuck a double entendre. I want y'all to feel this shit." So he acknowledged right there on the first track what he was bringing. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, everything about that whole album for me was just an enjoyable listen, especially compared to the previous album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Where I'm like, all right,
The
This is
hip
his
hop
artsy
heads
shit.
got theirs. They got theirs.
I had such a different experience with that one. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I looped that one like 6 times immediately.
Yeah, no, I listened to that album one time. I was like, all right, that's as much as I'm going to listen to this because I just don't find any enjoyment in what is being put out sonically.
You don't want to hear a
sense.
man and a woman yelling "fuck you" back and forth at each other for 4 minutes.
Hey, if I wanted to do that, I could just relive like my childhood. Like what the hell?
It made sense from the fact that like there were definitely teases of this kind of album into Pimp a Butterfly that were covered up by the more, you know, the All Rights and the Blacker the Berry and stuff like that sort of overshadowed the other. I was a really big pop chart song that was about, you know, loving yourself and stuff, so it overshadowed how dark and gloomy that album was in reality.
Now, I was gonna say, Blacker the Berry sounded like a pretty dark.
Yeah, it was very heavy lyrically, right? But it was just it was mostly rapping. It wasn't even a pop song.
Yeah, no, but with this one though, I think the moment where I was like, all right, I'm sold on this, and I probably was sold beforehand, but it just solidified everything that I was going through. Was the moment when we get that beat switch on TV off, right? And he just yells mustard at the top of his fucking lungs. I'm like, all right, I know what Kendrick's doing. I know what Kendrick is doing with this right now. I see the vision. This man is going to just do the most pettiest thing he can possibly do. He's going to stay viral with this, so Drake can't escape this.
Yes, the virality, like, and in a way, and we'll get to the lawsuit, obviously, but like the way that a lot of songs that are targeted for pop audiences now feel even more obvious that they have the details that necessary to know what makes virality, or they have a pretty good feeling of where they can strike for virality, right? And there's plenty of hip hop artists that have done this. It's not just a certain group or however. It's a pretty broad thing. I mean, essentially, it's Taylor Swift's, like, from what I understand about Taylor Swift, it's her like best trait is that she just kind of understands these little virality things in kids. You know what I mean?
Not to derail that point. All right, I'm glad you brought her up because Jack Antonoff, I didn't know your game. I didn't know this was your game. He has produced 11 of 12 of those tracks, right? So
Soundwave is the executive producer for the whole thing, apparently, right? And then
I think he's on every single song.
Yeah, and then Antonoff is on most of them.
I didn't realize he was the Bleachers guy.
Yeah, my favorite thing was the internet discovering Jack Antonoff was on 11 of 12 tracks, and he's like, man, the sentiment is, wow, he has to give all his boring things to like the white women artists that he produces for, and then they just call him up.
Well, it's the formula, right?
Yeah,
you're using a formula, and it's like Drake can do what he's doing, and we'll talk about what he's doing, but essentially the formula is so baked in that you're going to get trolled with it if you try to bat. And it's crazy too, because I'm talking about the man, and I give Drake a lot of credit for, especially if anything I've ever given him adamant credit for is being a hell of a pop artist. And it's just funny that, you know, we're sitting here at this moment where if anyone should understand the virality of a song,
it's that man right there.
It should be Aubrey, Drizzle, Drake, Graham. What are we talking about? The Hotline Bling King himself. Like, I mean, Hotline Bling is it's not this fucking Beethoven's, you know, next masterpiece kind of thing.
No, that
is
like the ultimate guilty pleasure for anyone who like wants to be like above it and pompous and pretentious about music, but they all love that one.
Yeah, so you couldn't escape Hotline Bling when that came out. Hell, I had a Hotline Bling sweater.
It was a massive. It was a virality moment in every way. You know, in every way, the video, the song.
We all let him just appropriate island culture and
yeah. Litigation. Did you see that? Yes. Oh my god.
Litigation.
Dude, I didn't know Jack Antonoff was in Fun. Holy crap.
Wait, he was in Fun?
Yeah. Or at least he produced for them. He definitely produced the big hits, but I think he's a part of the band.
But that's a one album band, right?
Like, no, they had 2 or 3.
Oh, okay. I
guess.
thought they.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I
09
look-
release and a 2012 release with
Bro,
the big
I-
hit "We Are Young" that he's a producer on and
I looked
writer
up the-
for.
Oh yeah,
So
no,
I
that
Googled Jack
song-
Antonoff, and I
that song did
see
not
what he
leave us
looks
the fuck
like.
alone in college.
He just looks like the biggest dork ever, and I'm like, this guy is on.
Hey.
He's going to be on an album that's going to be synonymous with the city of LA.
I
what a
and
guy!
again, one that is truly trying to capitalize on the local level sounds of specifically Los Angeles's hip hop culture. You know what I mean? Not talking about general trap beats that are hot right now. We're not talking about all the stuff that everybody's selling on. We're talking about very specific sounding music here. And it is just funny to me because I mean, I don't see why not, especially if Soundwave's working on it. You have a lot of local people working on it. It's like all this guy's doing is just sort of coming in at the angle of virality, probably, you know, the stuff that catches the radios, the ears, or whatever.
I mean, yeah, if he's writing fun, like if he wrote "We Are Young," then he's a hit maker. He's Max Martin, basically.
No, yeah, this guy is low key. I mean, I think I'm the one sleeping here everyone did on Max Martin for a while too.
Just because we didn't have the internet to know that he was actually writing all these songs for everybody.
I don't think the world really still has gotten the appropriate Max Martin documentary.
The first crack in that matrix for me was when I heard, what is that Bon Jovi song? It's My Life.
Yeah, the newer one.
Which is no, not even newer.
Yeah, that was second version of Bon Jovi, not
and it just
Bon Jovi.
You can just tell it's like a discarded Backstreet Boys track. Backstreet Boys track. It's exactly the same instrumentation, the exact same everything. It's crazy.
Dude, YouTube has been great for the music culture, but I know the industry low-key absolutely like it's a double-edged sword because it's like sports where it's like it's helped promotes it for free basically, but at the same time it really puts that fucking mirror on you in a way that you didn't even quite think about before, because now it's more obvious to figure out and track the way that music has sort of trapped us in as general audiences by using the same chords, the same, basically the same formulas. You've probably seen that one group that I think does a touring act where they basically just pick a chord progression and then go through like 20 different songs in the same like 5 minutes.
I mean, there's only
exactly
there's only 12 notes, so
exactly. No, it's just funny because it is the way it is the secret that's not so secret as long as you just kind of look.
Well, I mean, like all Western music is either, you could say it's either based on Leadbelly, or you can go back further and just say Leadbelly's based on minoring up the gospel, but
yeah, exactly.
All comes from that.
Exactly. So, and music isn't a super. Did you see there's a new instrument that the guy from Tame Impala made a new instrument? I'm sorry, we're getting way too off on a tangent, but that's the final one, I promise. Because that one was wild.
Oh, yeah.
I also don't have anything to say about the lawsuit, except for it's funny as hell.
Okay.
Are you looking at the Tame Impala instrument?
Just by looks of it just looks like another type of synthesizer.
A really sick MIDI /synth/
advanced chord generating hardware synthesizer.
Orchid, right?
What a name.
8 chord type selecting and chord modifying keys. Chord.
You too can sound like Tamale.
Okay. I mean, it's just doing it's just a piano hot keyboard. Like a hotkeys for the piano board.
Yeah, and you know what I was thinking? Is there anyone better that you could go to for this kind of technology than the one-man band himself?
Dude, I saw this band Color Music. I think they're from Stillwater. They're really cool. And I remember seeing them at Norman Music Festival at this small place in like 2010, 11. And they just had the lead guitar player. There's a bunch of, they're kind of like a psych rock band, but the lead guitar player, I think it was 50 different pedals, all interconnected, like just making just the most noise, the wildest sounds.
It's like Neil Peart for guitar pedals.
Yeah, like it's probably overkill nowadays because you can just do a lot of that really easy with a computer, but I don't know how easy that was back then.
Yeah,
do it live. Yeah, do it live with a computer and naturally.
So,
But anyways.
not to derail the music talk, but apparently, I'm just looking at this on Twitter. Mark Followill is on the ESPN broadcast right now.
Oh, awesome! I wondered, was there like an emergency or something?
I have no idea. I'm just seeing this right now on.
I mean, it's
Twitter.
a home game for the Mavs, so there might have been some sort of emergency. Yeah, actually, you know what's funny? I know it's Followill because I can tell the fucking plaid ass suit that's sitting that I can tell looking back when I'm seeing the game. I've got the game on the iPad down here, and I can tell that's Followill. But I guess they would be called. Oh no, Followill's going to be calling the game anyway because there's always two different broadcasts. Oh no,
Yeah,
I think
but
they
he's
do have
on the-
national nights off usually.
Yeah, but he's on the ESPN broadcast. Is
I don't know.
what they're
We'll have
saying.
to look into that. Yeah, I bet. Look, I can turn it up. We can listen to it live.
Yeah, I was trying to see if he tweeted anything about it.
There's Doris. Can y'all even hear it?
Doris?
I can hear it's a little choppy. But I can hear.
I can hear Doris.
All right, I'm gonna have to go back to the commercial. Oh yeah, that's Followill.
He is on the.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to Breen. Oh well,
Have they?
Breen
Has
is the
ESPN
Breen
ever
is-
done that?
Well, Breen is the play-by-play by. Is Tom Brady in that? Is Tom Brady's there? I'm looking at Tom Brady.
Okay, so we're just doing bits.
Okay.
Thanksgiving.
I don't know what's happening, bro. Tom.
Well,
Tom
I
Brady's
don't know
not-
how
he's
Tom
just sitting
Brady-
there. I just don't know why Tom Brady's there. But anyway,
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know how Mark Followill.
next quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. All right.
Oh, he's calling the
anyway.
game tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh damn! All right, nice.
Yeah,
New
He's
GM of the
stuck.
Dallas Cowboys. All right, let's
he
go.
is stuck
let's
just
talk about
calling
it.
Cowboys games for the rest of his career.
But yeah, no, I don't know what's happening. Mike Breen does do the regular color commentary for the New York Knicks, though, and that's who they're playing. But it's a national game. I thought usually both of the local broadcasts are off that night when they do the big ESPN ones. But I don't. Whatever.
They are usually off, so that's why it's weird that he's.
I don't know. Maybe search Mike Breen and see if you can find anything on
Yeah,
Twitter.
I'm looking, but there's nothing in the Reddit thread so far that I can find.
It should be him. I forget who their other guy is. I know his name. He does
Talking
the
about the
WNBA.
Mavs?
Oh, Mark Jones also does it a lot. No, not the Mavs. Talking
Okay.
about the ESPN's play-by-plays. Well, are we forcing into the hoopla or?
Yeah, I think that's probably about where we're at. So
Well, it's not that big a deal. We're doing a quick hoopla today because we've got plenty of football to wrap up as it is almost December now. And we wanted to spend this time. A month ago, we brought you back to the NBA season. We brought you back and we said, hey, we've got 10 things that you need to watch as an NBA fan. We're not going to do a drum roll or anything. We don't. If you want to keep the drum roll, you just keep the 20-minute drum roll. Do it. Because basically we're just rehashing and evaluating my storylines that I predicted. So number 10 was, how does a new arena work for the Los Angeles Clippers? If you remembered, we started with the video that wasn't too flattering, where a local rapper was trying to perform for the fans and his mic was messing up, and there was a lot of chaos after that. But the wall ended up causing Phoenix, even the players said it, to have some issues shooting free throws late in the game to start the season. It's more fun to at least look at. I don't know if they're selling it out. Obviously, they weren't selling out the downtown one that the Lakers have, so I don't know if that's really that big of a results or anything. But with Kawhi not being in the fold so far, you have an 11-8 record, a 6-4 in the last 10, and James Harden's sneaky MVP conversation, just the sneakiest of conversations for only the slimiest of bettors.
early.
It is early, but that conversation will come up again in this top 10 list. Moving on to number 9. I said Lonzo Ball is back / load management, because we know load management in the NBA is always the thing. Lonzo already out again with a wrist injury. I believe he's actually returning tonight. So we'll see if that actually happened. And then Joel Embiid was interviewed and investigated about 2 games into the season for load management. Eventually fined $100,000, I believe, for that. And then eventually there was the reporter thing and then the team meeting thing. Catch Weekly Hoopla Part 5 on our YouTube channel right now.
Yeah.
If you want to get into the nitty gritty on that one, we will not be covering it on the main show. Although it was funny, players only meetings do happen a lot, and we're not covering all of them. But if they have a second players only meeting, we might do that because 2 is, you know what I mean? Number 8. This one's going to be a little bit of a running one that we're going to put to bed for now. But look, this is a season-long mission. You know, Boston Celtics, they want to put another banner in their arena, right? The Dallas Mavericks, they want to get another shot at a banner. You can say the same about a bunch of other franchises. These franchises are not that. They're competing for something else. They're trying to capture the flag, the Cooper flag, a.k.a. the number 1 overall pick. Okay?
God damn it.
The Washington Wizards, the Brooklyn Nets, the Utah Jazz, the Portland Trail Blazers, and the Detroit Pistons were our most likely culprits coming into the season. Washington Wizards and the Utah Jazz, impressive starts to their campaign for the flag. Washington has lost like 10 in a row or more, and their like points margin is like almost to 20 by now, I think. So they're just getting beat down in every game, basically. Blazers, Pistons, you're a little too competent right now. Pistons especially. Okay, be careful. Be careful what you do when you're this young still. You want that pick, you want those odds. You don't have to be the worst team in the NBA. You have to be one of the 3 worst teams in the NBA. Remember that. It's very important. Really kind of 4, but 3 is really the hot spot. The Pelicans and the Raptors have run incredible races so far. If you believe in ethical tanking, the Toronto Raptors might be one of the greatest ethical tankers of all time. So far, they have a very slim points margin. If you watch the games, they're almost always coming down to the wire. And you know what's almost always happening? They're losing. That's ethical tanking. We love to see it. Okay? So the Raptors really running an ethical race there. Pelicans, they're going to get healthy. They're going to completely screw up their opportunity to draft the number 1 overall player. Sorry, New Orleans. But technically, they are kind of in the lead right now for everybody, but I don't see that lasting. Even if Zion stays out, they have enough other dudes to come back and be useful.
All right, so I have one minor update, not to derail you. No one has said a thing about Mike Breen, except Mike Breen
I think
did
it's
post
scheduled.
that he was going to be on a broadcast.
Oh, it's Thanksgiving. Okay, duh. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's a scheduled thing for follow-up.
That's awesome. That's a great audition for Follow-Will because
Also,
I think
It's too bad for
he's
Mavs
talented.
fans because you don't want to lose him.
yeah, and he apparently had some on-air pushback with Doris Burke.
Oh.
So Doris Burke was trying to be critical of Luka's ball or usage, and then Mark Followill just kind of shut it down with correcting her on air, saying he is averaging the lowest usage of his career.
Yeah, and I would correct him by saying, okay, well, you know what? A fucking person about to have a heart attack might have lowered their blood pressure from fucking yesterday, but that still ain't getting them closer to healthy. You know what I'm saying? What are we talking about? We're talking about usage percentage of 45 going down to 40. Come on, man.
Either way, I'm sick of Doris Burke, so keep shutting her down.
I do not understand why there's so much pushback to the complete obvious reality that Luka Doncic needs to learn how to play without the fucking basketball in his hands. But we're going to continue to fight this just like the Harden fans and the Rocket fans.
Damn
It's
right.
ironic as hell that it's now the Mavericks fans, ain't it? Because I'm just like, God damn, man. It's okay to just admit this kid needs to fucking adapt his basketball game. And that he's still one of the best players in the league, if not the best. But we'll talk about that conversation in a second.
Yeah, whenever we get to the Mavs portion, if you remember anything when he was coming out, didn't he have a low usage rate in Europe? Like, wasn't that
everybody does. Everybody does. Yeah, no, Europe doesn't play that shit. Yeah, you're not getting minutes like that. Honestly, he had a high usage percentage for fucking being a 17-year-old, 18-year-old in Europe is what he did, for sure. But no, yeah, you got to play rotation. They're way more close to the hockey style of life, which is logical, but it doesn't follow American imperialism. And look, I'm not gonna lie to you, especially if I got LeBron in his heyday, you know what I mean? I'm gonna be imperialistic because you're not stopping it. You're not stopping the freight train. So it's why you gotta find a way to limit your poison. It's a hard line.
Here's conspiracy theory. Did the NBA shut down LeBron going to Chicago because Thibodeau was there?
It would have been too powerful.
No, because
honestly,
Thibodeau would have knocked 8 years off LeBron's career by playing him 48 plus
honestly,
minutes a night.
it's very possible LeBron consciously made that decision on his own.
It's like, I want to play a lot, but not.
Well, the real reality is, what if him and Dwayne go there?
That's what I mean.
Dwayne's
that's
over.
my idea. Is that was the
But
thought.
Dwayne would have been a year under Thibodeau, and it would have been over, right? He only lasted 2.5 for the Miami experience.
Yeah, imagine telling Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving that they're gonna have to run as much Thibodeau wants you to run.
I love Tom Thibodeau, but yeah, I do feel like he might be the scapegoat. But that's not this number, right? We will get to that number. We're at number 7, Patrick. I can't believe you're derailing us from number 7, because number 7 was, what is the Wemby experience going to look like in year 2? Is it a leap? Is it a continued progression? I don't know if it's fair to call it a leap, but the team is taking a leap.
Yeah, I think he's learning. He's learning. We're watching him learn still.
They got so much more competent as an NBA roster this offseason, and that's really helping a lot. He's able to miss a few games, and they were all right.
They won a game.
You know what I mean? Like, this is okay. This is good things. I don't really care about the post-up shooting stuff. I really don't give a shit. He's always going to have to find a fine line with that. And I honestly look at the Spurs now as him tuning his game and everyone else earning their time around him. Then I look at them building a cohesive title champion anyway. So I really don't give a shit if he's taking shots that I think are stupid and don't want him to take in the future potentially, or at least not as much.
Yeah, it probably depends on situation in the game.
Well, I mean, I watched LeBron last night, and I can't say enough good things about him, but there's still at least 2 times a night where I'm like, God damn it, bro, why? Like, that was not necessary. So it just is what it is. Especially with the greats. It's because fuck you, that's why. And honestly, that is the appropriate answer. Not necessarily the segue, because I don't think he's going to be able to have this good of a season, but my number 6 question was, who was going to come for the MVP? Nicola's won it 3 out of the last 4 years. And, well, it looks like he's well on his way to winning 4 out of 5. The odds right now, I have them in a tier ranking. I didn't quite get the exact odds, but it's essentially Nikola, SGA, and Jason Tatum in a top tier of all having decent odds, the favorite still being Nikola. And a lot of guys,
Ben Simmons isn't on that list.
A lot of guys have missed time. Definitely not Benjamin Simmons. A lot of guys have missed time this year, so it's kind of helped everybody unilaterally here, because Luka's not playing right now, as Mavs fans will know, as we'll get to when we talk the Mavs specifically. But I really don't even know if that's going to hurt him in this competition as we go. He'll be in the next tier where Giannis, Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards also exist with them. AD's had a great start to his year. Lakers are going to need to probably remix the roster a little bit before they're taken seriously enough. But notable good start. Giannis and the Bucks are looking much better. It feels plausible that they could put a lot of that on him, and he could go up into that top tier soon. And then I think Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves, I think the Timberwolves might have too many problems this year for Anthony Edwards to have enough wins to be in this tier. But Luka should be good on all those accounts. He just needs to play and play better than he was. I mean, he was fine to start the season, but still want to be at those MVP levels. I mean, what Nikola does every night is very difficult to compete with. So you really need to be bringing your A game.
Yeah.
And even with voter fatigue.
He's far away the favorite right now, really.
Yeah.
Even in his own tier. I'm looking at him at nothing more than plus 200. I don't see Shea anywhere under plus 250.
Yeah, and I think SGA has a solid opportunity. I think Jason Tatum makes logical sense. If we're going to talk the gambling aspect of this, though, and we're going to get fun, you've noted the most important part. anyone potentially gambling, Nikola Jokic is a heavy favorite. His team needs him a lot. He likes to play basketball. He missed time because he had a child.
I was told he doesn't like basketball. He only likes horses.
Yeah, well, he actually likes horses better than basketball, but thankfully basketball pays for the horses, so he's putting up with this for now. So Nikola is a very difficult candidate to beat. And SGA, Tatum, Giannis, AD, Ant, Luka, all of those guys have interesting paths. You can go to the next tier, and that's where you talk about Donovan Mitchell,
Value.
Steph Curry. That's where I would get interested in in money if you're maybe trying to make a bet. Wemby, KD, Brunson, those are interesting options. I think the Knicks are going to have too much going on, and I don't think Brunson will get enough credit if they do start winning. KD is an interesting one. Definitely not opposed to that one. I think they've been really good with him on the court. The only time they've been bad so far is with him injured. Wemby has been incredible.
Him playing enough is going to matter, and I don't know if he's going to play enough. KD.
That is the hard part, absolutely. And then Wemby is interesting. I think we're already seeing the best the Spurs can be, and that's going to be around average. So I don't think they're going to give him an MVP just because,
I mean, what if he sneaks him in as like an 8 seed? What if he avoids?
I don't think that. Yeah, that's not MVP worthy though. I don't think. No,
If
that
he
might do.
drags
They
that
might get the
sorry
most
team.
improved
Yeah.
bullshit. So then you look at the next tier that I have, and I think these are the bogus odds. These are the ones that
De'Aaron Fox.
You have LeBron James. God, I love. Like I said,
That's the
anti-LeBron
Cowboys.
James.
That's the Cowboys
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
It's not anti-LeBron James. It's a anti. There's no fucking way that if we're this far into this, it doesn't work. The Lakers cannot be good if he is the best player on the team every night. They don't have enough depth to do that. We know that. So therefore, there's no way, even if he's playing his best basketball.
What if he's averaging 50 a game the rest of the year?
That would be what it would take. It would really take something special, and it doesn't matter. And if you
At
look
40
at the way,
years old, winning an MVP.
and we are looking at a LeBron James who clearly wants to score less and maybe average more on the triple-double side. And I think JJ Redick is starting to make that happen more too. So all of those are signs not to invest in the LeBron James old man vote. But if you want to will it into existence, you can still do that. Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, I don't think the Kings are going to be good enough. Devin Booker is going to be overshadowed by KD. And Karl Anthony Towns, again, I don't think any Knick will get individual credit if they get good.
I think the only other guy I have on that level is LaMelo Ball is listed also in that.
LaMelo
tier.
Ball, interesting one. Obviously not going to work. Charlotte's not going to be good enough. Halliburton, I don't even understand how he's in the conversation.
I don't even have
Clearly-
him on mine.
Clearly, this was DraftKings that I pulled this from. Ja Morant, interesting. I don't quite buy into Memphis that well. Here is the one. Here is the one play and my reasoning why. Because I think the odds makers are showing they don't know ball and that they may not have the vision, that they have the vision, but they're not quite seeing it clearly. I believe they are picking the wrong Boston Celtic to be in the favorite for this. I do think Jason Tatum is in that conversation. I think I understand the Olympic argument. I understand that he didn't win finals MVP, and I understand the level of talent that he is. But I do sneaky wonder if Jaylen Brown couldn't be a better MVP candidate. But you also have to remember, for either guy to win the MVP this year, in my opinion, it's going to take a lot of voter fatigue in a really dominant Celtics season. Because Nikola is going to be difficult to pull this award away from. And SGA will probably have a respectful runners-up race. And if he doesn't, Luka and Giannis are very likely to do the same. So the only other version of how these MVPs are usually awarded is through things like best team, best player. Could Jaylen Brown win the best player argument if the Celtics were to break the wins record, let's say? That's what I think you have to look at. They're not necessarily on pace for that, but it is something, as they are the defending champions, as they sort of try to cement the potential dynasty they could be, it is something that you shouldn't take away. And with the odds being so low for Jaylen Brown, it's something I would at least maybe consider if I would just want to put a little bit of baby funny money into it and see if it doesn't quite happen. Because if you're going to bet essentially on the possibilities of who could upset Nikola, that's really one of the only options at this point, because there's a lot of imposters in the mix for sure when it comes to MVP. Mostly just because there's a lot of old dudes that we just can't trust to play as many games as necessary to win the MVP. I think that's really the biggest part of it. Getting back into the top 5. Number 5, the New York Knicks. We talked about a little bit. Can they restore the feeling to New York? Great basketball city. If I had to at least league mandate that these two teams had to stay competent, I would make, or 3 probably, because Celtics are also very historical. Celtics, Lakers, Knicks. You want those 3 teams to be competent. They don't have to win the title, but you want them in the playoffs. You want their money. You want their fandoms to be involved in the chaos. It's good for the business. But there still needs to be a confidence level for the New York Knicks, right? And I think if either one of you are watching the current game happening, you're not quite seeing the confidence, right?
No, not at all.
It's been a struggle so far. They're a little short on depth. Not that Tom Thibodeau would use it. They're not awful in the start they have. And most importantly, they're in the East. So if you can afford to start slow, the East is a great place to do so. They've got injury reinforcements coming down the pipeline, especially at the big man position. That allows them to get rid of some of the players that do have to play in their rotation that I don't think that Tom Thibodeau has any desire to play, other than the fact that he actually physically has to sometimes sub his players out. There are 2 other guys that are currently injured that I think at least one of them Thibodeau will play as much as he humanly can, and the other one he will at least sort of play. That's good enough. And, they built this thing for the long haul. So the Knicks just have to get something cohesive together this year. And I think make an Eastern Conference Finals run again. I think that would be probably the best cementing of ground. And then you can really talk about this team filling out more depth, potentially replacing the head coach. Not that I'm saying Thibodeau needs to go necessarily, but we know how these super teams are. Whenever it doesn't go right the first year, the coach is usually almost always the guy out the door. The Knicks will have to go through a process, but I think when you watch how talented they can be, there's still a lot of hope there. But I think restoring the feeling, technically, they have restored the feeling because Knicks fans have an argument for them to be in the title contention this season. Unfortunately, the evidence thus far has not necessarily inspired that confidence to continue to talk loudly and proudly. So we'll see how that goes. Number 4, similar situation. What sophomore team realizes their potential? The superstar teams. Last year, the Bucks and the Suns created superstar tandems or trios, rather, and neither one of them really worked out. The Bucks were a little discombobulated, fired a coach, brought a new coach in that was notorious for not helping discombobulated teams, and things got off to a bad start. This year, things got off to another bad start. However, they have gotten pretty good. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. Giannis looks like he could be in the MVP conversation again. Dame looks much better. And Chris Middleton hasn't even played basketball yet. The Suns, off to a great start, then got pretty bad for a second. Now they've one game back with KD, and they already look like they're one of the potential title threats again. I think both of these teams have depth issues. I think both of these teams have serious age issues. But I will say, I think the world where both of these sophomore superstar trios can potentially even meet in an NBA Finals again doesn't sound too crazy at this moment. I mean, we still have a lot of games to be played, but I think that there are some arguments to be made there. Number 3 was what's the next move for the Warriors? We all kind of knew that it was either Steph Curry's on his way out or the Warriors are going to need to remix this to give him a chance to win another title before he retires. They've been really good to start the season, although the last few games they have started to level off, including a loss to the Wemby Spurs. They're probably still looking at rotation upgrades. They've been proud about playing 14-man rotations, essentially. I don't think it's that crazy, but it is like 12 dudes a night for the most part. I don't think that's actually desirable. I think they're just doing lip service and showing off players that they're going to put in trades. I definitely feel like the Warriors are probably the sleeping giant of the trade deadline at this point. And I think the hot start and the way Steph looks, the way Draymond looks, as much as anything, gives me a lot of confidence that the Warriors have something potentially up their sleeve. Will it work? Who knows? But I would be surprised to see the Warriors stand pat this entire season. Number 2, and this is really already answered. This was probably the one that I thought was going to take the most season to figure out, that was going to be the most chaotic, was going to be the most drawn out and ridiculous. And then just like a Band-Aid, it just got ripped off one random day, just during the day. How does TNT part ways with the NBA? It's simple. They don't. They don't. They go to ESPN, kind of. So, sure. I mean, that was anticlimactic. That's why I told you guys we could just get this top 10 thing done with, because pretty much all of these things really have already come and sort of been answered to most of an extent. And this one is no different than that. TNT is now a product of Disney to some extent. So I ask you a question. Does this mean the end of content like this?
Suspect's going to get really tired if you try to name all his kids. Every time I see Suspect run, I'm forced to say, Assalamu alaikum.
Suspect irons his jeans. Suspect is missing part of his beard. Suspect resembles Dwight Howard, but not as muscular.
Good.
Yeah, that's gonna be the end of that, man. We're not getting any of that.
Or they're gonna have to send it through like 4 different approval processes just to get it sent out and published.
Pretty much, man.
Well, I mean, last night they were doing clay pottery at one point, and they were just making crazy innuendos about Charles Barkley, molding a clay pot on live TV. And this is about to be a Disney product. I have some worries about the integrity of the product, but ultimately I'm excited that it'll stay in a smaller fashion.
If you're worried about integrity in ESPN, I mean, those things are water and oil.
They have plenty of now they own and produce and make money off of plenty of things that are less what you think of as Disney cartoon friendly. But I do wonder what level ESPN might push back against these guys, but they might not
They
at all,
get away with a lot.
Because Pat McAfee's
Pat McAfee. So does Pat McAfee. You're right.
He's still able to do it, and maybe they could do something like that where they are broadcast online and they just show you part of it on TV. Who knows? Yeah,
it could be. It very well could be. I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm just mostly like, I just don't want it to be completely ruined, but I'm also pretty excited that it's less than it is currently, because honestly, they only really do this much before, like, I think the NBA Cup now, and then they end up really having like Candace Parker and Jamal Crawford and like Adam Lefkoe host the show a lot throughout some of the grind of the season, and then they go back to it. So I think having a smaller dosage of everything would be great. And, more Jalen Rose, less Kenny Smith won't hurt me either, but, we'll see. The final one also pretty much answered, and I think this has been very low-key the way it's played out, even though it was the biggest storyline going into the NBA. LA Bron's final chapter, ? That was our number one question of the year. It feels pretty likely that LeBron is not retiring after this season, given that no massive injury occurs, blah, 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 right? Feels pretty likely that we will not see LeBron James's last season come at this year. However, we are seeing Anthony Davis take a more focal point in the offense. JJ Redick seems to clearly be focusing on a Lakers team built around Anthony Davis and with no mistake. And it seems to be working mostly well. Again, their depth issues are still showing early in the season, but the signs of a competent, organized basketball team with a plan are here for the first time in at least 3 seasons. And I think that's positive. The Sun aspect has been pretty much kind of forgotten about. It's the I don't want to play with you anymore aspect of this NBA season. Maybe it comes up again. Bronny has been mostly on the depth chart for injuries. I'm not even sure if he's played with the South Bay Lakers too much this season. If you could look that up and verify.
I mean, he said he wasn't going to travel with them.
We've already got the do not travel report.
2 games played,
and
5 points.
I don't think they've even played. Maybe they've only played 2 home games so far, but essentially they are DNP CDing, putting him on the injury report for every
had
Laker
4 home games.
Yeah. So, okay, that's not the craziest thing to read into, but it is another kind of sign. I do think, and I still believe this, LeBron James Jr. could be an NBA player for 10 years if he wanted to. I think there's examples, KJ Martin. I think there's plenty of examples of guys that are sons of NBA players that are athletically gifted enough to hang around the NBA for quite a while, should they choose to. And if not, the G League is also there. We've seen Zaire Wade. We've seen Shaq's boy Sharif. We've seen people do that. I don't think that's the destiny of Bronny James Jr., though. I think that it seems more obvious than ever that Papa got his wish. Bronny gets to do an internship with the pro basketball team and maybe keep that option open and still be a G Leaguer for however long he wants to be to make money on the side. But I think that LeBron James Jr. is soft launching a pro gaming career.
I mean, he's already a paid Call of Duty streamer, isn't he?
Exactly. And I think a lot of this season is just them laying the foundation for that and then subtly transitioning into that either probably in the offseason at some point next year. But maybe he stays on the contract.
Still do both. Like
he could still do both. I just think, again, we get into the question of how much does he actually want to? And that's where I say, okay.
Because it's not like his streaming is like he's cutting and editing video. Like he's got a team. All he has to do is show up.
Absolutely. He just has to play video games. And I'm fine with that. And he's a young kid. But the thing is if he wants to be really competitive at that, and if he wants to do that, and he doesn't really want to do basketball like that, then I think he needs to either be a G Leaguer and they need to treat his contract and they need to treat him as if he is a G Leaguer only.
I guess I was just assuming he was playing Call of Duty, not like actually trying to be like a competitor.
I mean, I think he would probably want to compete against some of the best people in the world at some of it's not just one game either, I think that Bronny James has been raised in a different generation, and I think they all look at gaming competitive gaming sports, esports is a much more real competition, like a real interesting thing, like a real accomplishable task that they want to set out for and be around and watch.
And I imagine it's just a lot more enjoyable to be Bronny James, the streamer, than LeBron James Jr., the basketball player, literally under his father's shadow, while his father's still playing.
Yeah,
but no matter what he does in his entire life, that's there.
I think he's done a good job with all of this. I think if this is all that it's ever going to be, and this isn't really him training for a serious, it's very difficult to play in the NBA. Like to get a shot in the NBA is not as difficult as staying in the thing and being there for a while. That is a truly special thing. I don't care if you played and only averaged 3 points a game. If you stayed in the NBA for 5 or so seasons, you have my utmost respect, because that is not an easy task. That is a very, very difficult thing to do. And you have to take that more serious. And so I do think for Bronny, the G League route, just stay with the South Bay Lakers. I don't see why that would be any issue. These G League teams need to establish better like home products so that you're more familiar with some of these players and they're not just science experiment basketball games.
No.
He'll be the most famous G Leaguer of all time. So
until his brother gets there.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bryce might be talented, might actually like basketball, so we'll see when we get to him. But if that's not the case for Bronny, he should. And Bryce is bigger than Bronny already, I think.
Yeah, how many years do we have until Bryce hits the league? If he were to be a one and done,
I think he's a junior in high school
right now.
Yeah, he's a junior in high school because I just saw a picture.
I thought
of
him and his brother were 2 years apart.
No,
I think it looks like.
Him and Savannah were just doing a tour of Arizona's campus.
Yeah, they're 3 years apart.
3 years
well,
apart. Okay.
two and a half, basically.
Yeah.
So
Months,
basically, it's a very small chance that he gets
but he's already 6'1".
Says here 6'4".
Dang, that Bryce?
Yeah, who knows what's right.
Yeah,
but
Bryce,
he's taller. He definitely, you can see pictures of the two. I believe that he's already been taller than Bronny for a bit. But either way, that's the long story of it.
24/7 has him at 6'4".
I told you guys my theory was 23 seasons of 23. That's next season. I still think that's very likely. We will see, though, because obviously if the Lakers are more competitive by then maybe he really tries to push it. But that still feels like a reach because it still feels like they're struggling to stay, they've just made a lot of poor decisions constructurally on that roster. And it's not easy in the NBA right now to be a couple men down. If you have $10-15 million rotting on your bench, it shows in the standings and it shows in playoff time, this version of the NBA. Yeah, we will see how that goes. We're going to end the hoopla pretty quickly because I don't think we have a ton of other stuff other than, hey, this week in Mavs went, 2-1, I think? Yeah, 2-1. Got a thrilling victory over the Nuggies. This is all without Luka. You had a controversial game where Spencer Dinwiddie closed the shit out of a game that he probably shouldn't have closed. And then you had another game 2 nights ago where he actually ended up bouncing back really well and helping them come back and beat Atlanta. So without Luka, the Mavs have been doing really well. Looks like Kyrie will probably, I feel like this is me reading the tea leaves. I feel like Kyrie will probably take some games off whenever Luka's healthy because there's already been some times where it feels like he should be potentially doing that now, and they just don't have that opportunity amongst them. So I think be looking for that, Mavs fans. And then the IST group. They are in the IST group with the Warriors, who are 3-0 in the IST, and they have clinched. The Pelicans are eliminated in their bracket. The Nuggies and the Grizz are both under 500 in the bracket. So I think the Mavs just need to win their last game, and they have a shot based off of points margin at that point. I don't know. It's the IST. Who cares? We'll figure it out when the people get there. Any notes and news on the Mavs this week that need to be addressed? It's pretty mundane Luka-less time right now. Kyrie just doing what he does, getting buckets.
Yeah, nothing too much to it that needs to be brought up or talked about. At least nothing that hasn't already been said or done.
Yeah, nothing that we don't have 6 more months to talk about for sure. Spurs this week in Spurs. Los Spurs. 3 straight wins for the Spurs while we were undefeated week for the Spurs. Jazz twice and the Warriors, though. So the Warriors was with a solid win, even though I think Wemby does give them a very, very big disadvantage against that particular roster. The Jazz games, it was a comeback to really control the game last night and beat the Jazz. That's good. You love that. Area 51, how do we feel about that nickname? Stephon Castle is 5. Wemby's 1. They're Area 51 together.
I hadn't heard that. That's all right.
Yes.
It seems to be catching on right now. Devin Vassell, still where the fuck are you?
Feels a little Daxy 2-1-4, and it might not get as much run, but we'll see. Spurs fandom is a little bit more into, I don't know, I think they can make that work. So
we will see. Especially because the alien stuff is so embraced by
it really will depend on if Stephon Castle progresses and holds.
I mean, at this point, we're talking about a weird rookie of the year class, but he certainly feels like he could be amongst that conversation. Wemby's back. Devin Vassell's still fucking off. I don't know what the deal is. They're playing him like a hockey injury. Methinks Devin Vassell may not be a Spur beyond this season. But
Well, hey, without
see.
him, they're a play-in team right now.
And he might have a lot of worth as far as what they need, and they may not know that they believe in him to how much he's going to cost the next time he's due Monday.
Right.
Yeah. So that is the hard question with that, and it is something that I do wonder if that could be the final nail in the coffin. And you can say, hey, why is it? The Spurs have done this before. This is not the first guy that has not quite fit the culture, even if he has fit the culture for a few years. And they have a separation of, parting of ways. And it's very likely that could happen. It's also just could be that they're nursing him through an injury. I just really need to see Vassell and Wemby play more together before I make that decision. So that's why it frustrates me a little bit. But we're not there. We don't know what's going on. In the East Group B, the Jazz are eliminated. They haven't won an East game yet, tanking very unethically. They want the Cooper flag in Utah. And then you have basically like a tie because the Suns, the Lakers, and the Spurs are all 2-1, and they've basically all beaten each other, I think. And then in that little weird way. And then you have the OKC at 1-1. Also, that's not even Doris Burke on the call.
Yeah.
I don't even know who that is.
Doris Burke?
That is not Doris
Sounded
Burke.
like it for a second.
I don't know.
Who is it then?
I'm just now looking at who this is, and I'm not sure who that is. That's definitely Mark Follow, though.
All right, because when I put on the voice, I'm like, either I haven't seen a broadcast of Doris Burke in a while, so I
wasn't listening that closely.
all the broadcasters that they have on their squad, just oh, that's Doris Burke. They all sound like Doris Burke. But, okay.
And usually I've seen the B team. I'm familiar with Follow, but I don't know. Anyway, that's hoops. We have talked the hoops. We have completed all the hoops we could possibly complete for this week. I will figure out better ways to find more hoop topics as we go, but with the college football season at crescendo,
it's possible that between now and Christmas, the next few weeks, we even scale back everything that's not football because we'll see what happens in these upcoming weeks, college football wise.
College football will get much easier for a second, but then it's just gonna go through like these weeks of like down big, boom, 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 boom. It's gonna be crazy. But either way, tune in next time, folks.
All right. Join us in our next segment where we discuss college football.
I'm confident every day, to be honest.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. You appreciate his compliment?
Say again?